Let's go.
Welcome to Citizen. We have a very special guest today, Matt Cable, or you were introduced to me as Staff Sergeant Matt Cable. So give us a little background on your time in the service, and then afterwards you've gone through a couple of like shitty situations. So let's hear about that.
Few hurdles. Yeah, so I joined the military, actually the Air Force in 2011. I actually joined the Air National Guard, and after tech school, I came back home to Great Falls, Montana, and I pretty much went right to active duty. I was on Title 10 orders most of my career. So after about 2 years on National Air Force Base, I then was diagnosed with AML leukemia, and that's a cancer in my bone marrow.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to my first round of chemotherapy, and I fought as hard as I could. I ended up actually on life support with complete organ failure. Battled back, woke up about 18 days later, and had lost about 60 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I remember, looking in the mirror and just telling myself, just got to work, got to keep moving forward each day, one step at a time, and it'll all come back. So that's what I did. I didn't necessarily feel sorry for myself. I kind of just, accepted the fact that this is one of my hurdles that I'm gonna have to get over, and sought my way back. Fast forward about 5 years. I actually appeared on and competed on the television show The Titan Games with Dwayne Johnson. And
I've heard of that. I've never seen it before. Is it like American Gladiator, but not quite so cheesy, I guess?
Kind of, yeah. So it's like modern day, like, this day and age American Gladiator. It's really cool. You compete against others, but instead of like hitting people out, off, with sticks and stuff, you're you're doing different obstacles, and that can vary from multiple. They had a lot of obstacles, especially season 1, season 2. They're all so different. But yeah, after I, got the call about competing on Titan Games, I was honestly very, very happy that I was going to be able to showcase my story to the world, to give others inspiration and hope. That was kind of the biggest thing for me. And then, the competing and meeting Dwayne Johnson kind of just came as a plus, obviously a big plus. But after I competed, I then went on pre-deployment orders and soon deployed overseas in 2019. While I was deployed overseas, about 4 months, I actually relapsed and my cancer came back, this time with vengeance. So I was actually immediately medevac back to the States. So I was at Walter Reed for about 40 days. And I actually had to fight really hard through the med board to even stay in the military the first time around and to then deploy overseas. So I fought really hard, to be able to finally deploy with my team. And I finally was able to, and I relapsed while I was overseas.
Yeah.
But so yeah, at Walter Reed, I was there for about 40 days, trying to get back into remission. And this time they had to hit me with even harder chemotherapy because it's my second time around. So my body's used to the chemotherapy, and we wanted to make sure that we killed the leukemia ASAP so I can, get on to now, further treatments. So I ended up getting a blood clot in my heart at Walter Reed. So we had to take care of that with the chemotherapy. I ended up in remission. And then after 40 days, I then decided I'm going to move to Arizona so I can go do my treatments at the Mayo Clinic over there in North Scottsdale. And while I was over there, I went through my second round of chemo. And this whole time I'm still, obviously in the military and, trying to stay in, going to fighting the med board and whatnot. But after the, second time of, relapsing, it was pretty much a 100% that I'm going to get medically retired. So, but I was at the Mayo Clinic, my second round of chemotherapy, and I decided, still kind of, do my life, and I went and worked out, and I remember feeling very, very like sick. I had probably the worst headache I've ever felt in my life. And so what chemotherapy does is it kills your immune system, all your white blood cells, everything. And so if you get sick, you're kind of in trouble. And so that's what happened to me. I got really sick and actually turned into a fungal infection. And it was actually started up here. It was going to my brain, wrapped around my eye.
What was it, like meningitis or some shit?
I can't remember the exact. I think it might have been actually. It was a brutal fungal infection that kills a lot of people who have a healthy immune system, and I didn't know that. Obviously, I actually went to the ER. The night that my head started just pounding, I couldn't sleep. I was like literally crying, and I went to the ER that night. And I don't remember much, but they admitted me ASAP, and I was back on life support in a coma, and they had to do 5 surgeries in 7 days. I woke up when I wasn't supposed to again, and I this time it was the recovery was a little more brutal, but I was able to after about 2 weeks I left the hospital and kind of try to get myself back into shape again because I knew I had a bone marrow transplant coming up. So that's what I did. I did what I could, stayed as healthy as I could, got ready for my transplant. And then finally, I had my transplant and I was in the hospital about 30 plus days. And I came out, and this time around, I actually had my wife now. She wasn't my wife at the time, but she was my caregiver. And she took care of me she still takes care of me. But about 200 days, I had to make sure I was taking my medication every day at the exact time. Or if I were to miss medication, my body would kill me pretty much. And so she, had a lot of pressure on her shoulders, keep me alive, but she did amazing at it. I'm still here. And so, but no, fast forward about a year and my blood still hasn't reproduced in that year. So I actually went 11 months without my blood reproducing. So like everything went pretty smoothly, except for the fact that my donor's blood and my blood were so different that it just didn't kick over. And we were trying everything we could because I was getting, blood transfusions twice a week for 11 months. And so that was taking a toll on my body, and we were trying to figure out what the heck to do. We're going through all these different treatments. And me trying to work out was almost impossible. I did what I could, obviously, but man, when you have, half hemoglobin, what you're supposed to as a male in their, early 30s, it was rough, but I did what I could. And finally we did this last attempt before literally a second transplant was being talked about. We did this therapy called plasmapheresis, and that's where they pull out your blood and your plasma out of one arm, kick it through a machine. It kicks out all this your bad stuff cells and takes out the old plasma, brings in new plasma through your other arm. And we did that for about a month. And I don't know where my blood started kicking and reproducing.
It's almost like siphoning or something. That's
yeah, exactly. It was incredible. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm game for whatever. Let's try whatever. Fix me, please.
Yeah. So, I don't think I've ever heard of that. That's pretty. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of that treatment before.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was like, okay, well, you're kicking in new plasma, and it was. I think I did that treatment 3 times a week for maybe a month and a half, and finally started reproducing, and it was definitely a miracle because then I can just tell instantly. I was like, man, I can actually stand up and not want to fall over. I can actually go work out and do cardio now and feel good. So yeah, I got over that, and then the next set of hurdles was I now dealt with chronic GVHD, so that's graft versus host disease, and that's where
it's a rejection basically. It's like your the transplanted organ is sucking all the life out of you basically.
Yep. It's, yeah. For example, it's like your new DNA sees your old DNA is
Mm,
foreign, so it attacks itself. It
mm,
attacks your organs, muscles, attacks your joints, and so I was now dealing with that on top of what I just went through, and uh, we're trying to figure out because I was trying to work out and my body was just stiff. No matter what I did, no matter what mobility I was working, flexibility I was working, I was always just so stiff, and so um, I yeah, we're just trying to figure out what medication I should get on and not be on and trying to wean me off. And, I had to get on prednisone a lot because it takes away the inflammation. So that's what it did.
right.
And I hate it. It's a disgusting drug. So obviously I tried everything I could to get away from it. And eventually I did. And, yeah, now actually I started taking some products from some medication from Transcend HRT, which is a hormone replacement therapy. After everything I went through, it took a toll on all my labs, on my thyroid, all my everything. My testosterone shot down, and so I actually got when I got my labs back, my testosterone was medically low, really low. It was like 152 or
Hmm.
something. And so I got on a little bit of testosterone to help that bring that up to normal level. And since then, I just feel incredible. Because post transplant, I had no energy at all, and I tried to do what I could each day, being fatigued and whatnot. But I would still get off the couch and go and do at least an hour or two of of working out and training at a pretty high intensity. So I feel like I earned my rest, or I mean, what I was doing, what my food, make sure I earned what I was eating, and um,
Well, that I don't think that's something that's unique to somebody going through struggle, though. I think we get the cart before the horse a lot when it comes to the investment we make in our own lives, right? So this idea that it used to be a very common idea, something that the Stoics talked about, but even as recently as the middle of the 20th century, it was like it's good to go to bed tired. You know what I mean? And it sounds like a platitude, or like maybe you're suggesting that being physically tired at the end of the day is somehow helpful for sleep, and there's some truth to those things, I guess. But the reality of the situation is that we are purpose driven animals, and without it we don't do very well psychologically. You know what I mean? Everything kind of stems from that.
absolutely,
So
100%.
there used to be this it used to be a widely held belief that the mind controls the body, and that's not really true, to be honest. I mean, most of our research suggests that. Well, for example, there's a psychological study that was done 6 or 7 years ago where people who were depressed, clinically so, and had low levels of serotonin and other chemical imbalances, were put through these paces with a test and control group. And one group was they were shown stuff that is, I guess, visually pleasing, whether it's nice stories or pictures or whatever. And then the proctor would tell them to smile, like force yourself to put a smile on your face. And the physical act of putting the smile on your face had a larger impact on boosts of testosterone and endorphins than actually seeing something like food, or some a beautiful picture or something like that, right? So
Mhm.
it's just simply not true that the mind only controls the body, right? Like, you make decisions, sure, and you can putting yourself in the right frame of mind and deciding to do that is very important. But this idea that it all stems from the brain itself without any physical attachment, that's just nonsense, right? So this idea of earning your rest, I think, is something that people can learn from people like you. Unfortunately, it usually is the case that folks don't come upon this knowledge, or at least implement it into their lives, unless it's some kind of horrible situation. But the reality is that there's a lot to be learned there. Going to bed tired is probably a good idea. Not going through your workday and being like, all right, I give up for the rest of the day. I'm going to sit on my fucking couch and watch television and do nothing, because that you're going to feel like shit if you do that. I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah, I like how you said we're made for to have a purpose, right? So yeah, always having a goal, and what you want to achieve, and chase that goal, every day, regardless, of how many goals you have. It's definitely gives you a purpose, for your why, on why you're living, why you're here. Because I mean, if you don't have a goal or a purpose, like what are you doing each day? Like, for me, if I didn't have a goal, I don't know what the hell I do. I'd be so bored. I would go home and sit on my couch and watch a fucking movie just every night. It's like, oh, this is fun. Just same thing, same old, same old. And it's like, you gotta have a purpose, gotta have something that you love to do and go and chase it every day. In my opinion, that's how I
No,
feel.
no, that's absolutely right. Like for the entirety of human existence, and not just human, but our, genetic ancestors, we've always had the goal, and this is the same thing in the animal kingdom of, just trying to stay alive first, right? And then it becomes we're trying to build civilization, and then we're trying to advance within civilization, and then we're trying to build up generational upward mobility so our children and grandchildren can advance through civilization. Now we're just nihilists, like because the systems that govern us, and I don't just mean government, but also the attitudes of business and bad actors, and then sometimes just the weight of the system itself sucks. People think that the process itself sucks, but that's not true, right? I mean, you can't, if you become cynical and nihilistic about advancing, then you're not going to. It doesn't matter if you think that you're going to start some or try some new strategy where you focus primarily on self-care and forget about your responsibilities in the world, and you think you're going to be happy and advance in life because of that, you're a fucking lunatic. That's dumb belief. You know what I mean? But it seems so pervasive, particularly through our generation. And maybe to a lesser degree, I think the boomer generation wanted to have that relief, but things were too tumultuous and they couldn't. So they projected that onto us. And now we think it's somehow, we've tried to moralize the idea of shutting out the world and focusing on ourselves. When has that ever been appropriate to do that? I don't think, like, we live for each other. That's why we built all this stuff. It's why we built civilization, is because we live for and depend on each other, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
That's just that blows my mind, man. Honestly, it's like the easiest thing in the world. All of human history has been exactly the same, and all of a sudden we think we're so fucking smart that we figured out some new shit. Like, oh no, what we should have been doing. Yeah, definitely. All the great things that have happened in human history would have gotten done if people were just sitting around whining about their feelings. You know what I mean? And it's not to say you shouldn't address your feelings, but that can't be your primary motivation in life. It just can't be. You know what I mean? And that's why I like, we have a lot of different types of people in here, but I like having people like you on here sometimes because, you've navigated quite a bit of bullshit, and I wonder on the other side of it how that's I guess taught you lessons, and then how you've reframed your life to find purpose moving forward, right? Because anybody that's gone through this much shit sees the future as a gift. You know what I mean? So it just changes the way you think. So I wonder from your perspective, what that's done for you.
Dude, yeah. So just like what you said, I'm extremely blessed to be here. Not only that, with everything that I've been through, it has taught me, the hardship I've been through. I don't think you'll ever hear me complaining about something, let alone my feelings. Like I'm not saying it's a bad thing to talk about your feelings. Like, hell yeah, talk about your feelings, okay, But for me, I have a purpose, and my purpose, every day I'm doing, I'm in routine of chasing goals. A lot of it obviously is fitness related. So I'm making sure I train every day, getting better at least 1% every day, making sure I'm eating proper nutrition so I can, live longer for my family. And I'm eating good. I'm eating freaking red meat, meat in general, my veggies, whatnot. And, I enjoy eating it. I don't need to go eat fast food. I don't need any of that. I don't need any of that. And then another thing is a big goal of mine is to share my story and to help others who are possibly struggling, and to see my mindset and how I see things, and the world, to give them maybe a little more strength,
Sure.
even even, and that's a big thing for me. I life's short, man, and even me, I'll be 32 at the end of this month. I've lost a lot of friends, and like you wouldn't even believe it. Like how the hell they just die? How? And then I'm thinking back to everything I've been through. I'm like, and I'm still here. Like, don't waste your time. Make an impact. Share your story, make an impact, and just live life to the fullest. Honestly.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how, when we're in our toughest situations, I guess, the deepest and darkest places we'll ever be, it's not always somebody pulling us out that makes things better. You know what I mean? It kind of feels like you would either that the best way to get out of a situation like that, it would be for somebody to come save you. But this is not usually how it works. It usually works when you make the conscious decision to turn your pain and suffering into empathy and purpose towards other people. You know what I mean? It's
100%.
And I mean, to the very deepest fundamental level of human consciousness, it works that way. And I think that's because this is the way that we've been constructed by nature, right? Like the world is a dangerous and finite and capricious place to live. And it can be very bad if you don't have a support system around you. And for that reason, we have developed support systems, and the people who have been more likely to engage in those support systems and hold them up have done better, you know what I mean, genetically speaking, and passing on their genes throughout the years. So we have this predilection to help other people. We do. It is intrinsic in almost every human being. And I just think people don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? Like if you're a suburban person who's not really gone through a whole lot of personal struggle, it can be difficult to quantify your life in terms of modern society. You know what I mean? Like what is it? Everybody seems to be having a rough time, but I'm not. So what can I do to, and it manifests itself in some pretty nefarious ways, like the virtue signaling nonsense and all that. But I do think the impetus that you're feeling biologically to help other people, like we got to get our arms around that and use that shit. You know what I mean? Because we're just wasting it right now.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that. So, yeah, support system's huge. So my first round of leukemia back in 2014, 2015, I had a lot of support from my friends and family. Kind of was what kept me going. Is just because it was so crazy hearing the news. That I had leukemia. Like I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what is that? And I had to have what and what. Not once did I ever think, I'm gonna die. Like not once. I was like, no, I'm gonna beat it. I'm gonna beat this thing. So I fought as hard as I could. I guess I was in the just perfect amount of shape, to be able to fight this thing head on, and I survived. And then fast forward, to 2019, and here's a crazy thing about actually how I met my wife.
Mm-hmm. Are you gonna make a sitcom out of this later on, like How I Met Your Mother, or is it?
I know, right?
Yeah.
How you met? Well, yeah. I mean, it's actually it's a pretty cool story, actually. So when 2019, I deployed overseas. My episode on the Titan games actually aired February 6th of 2019, and so I knew the time and dates it was airing. Let alone back here in the States. My wife, at the time, I didn't know who this person was, right? But she was battling breast cancer, so she actually was 2 days post double mastectomy, and she was, she was at her parents' house. They were taking care of her, and they were like, "Hey, you want to watch the Rock's new television show on the Titan games?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, okay." She turned on TV, and the first person she saw was me. And I was off telling my story, how I overcame leukemia and all this and that. Here I am now, and she just was instantly just inspired and motivated. And that night, I had posted a picture while I was deployed, on Instagram. I said, "Thank you for all the love and support on my journey. I appreciate you all." And she commented on my photo. And so, obviously I went through my comments and seeing who was writing me, whatnot. And I came across her, and I saw her Instagram profile picture. She was completely bald, and I was like, oh man, So I went and clicked on her photo. I was like, wow, this woman's really beautiful. So I actually messaged her and I said, hey, you're the warrior. Like, keep kicking ass and doing your thing. And we started talking, and before I knew it, we're talking for the next 3 months while I was deployed. I was FaceTiming her every day and getting to know her, and yeah, just falling for her. I never saw her in real life, and out of nowhere, as fate would have it, 4 months into my deployment, I relapsed,
Mm-hmm.
and it brought me back to the States. And she actually flew from Florida, met me at Walter Reed in the hospital, and that's where I met for the first time. And honestly, since that time, she hasn't left my side, to be real. And so when I moved to Arizona, shortly after, she moved to Arizona too. And unfortunately, that night is when I had my fungal infection. So she had to see me on life support and all that for weeks, And, I woke up and, put her through all that. We're dating, but first, when you start just dating somebody and you just met them in person not too long ago, and you go through that, like, it was incredible. And she stuck by me, and she literally was my support system through, my second round of leukemia and my transplant, and kept me alive. And, after everything she's been through, and then I've been through, we actually were just blessed with a son. He's now 11 months old, on the 4th of this month. So about 4 days ago. Yeah, just, you can say I'm very blessed. Life has been very rough, but once you get through that, the cursed part of your life, it then becomes a blessing.
Sure, yeah, but that's how it doesn't. It works that way in the extreme, but it also works that way in the banal, right? Like forming good habits is kind of a pain in the ass. But once you do, it's relatively easy to stay on track. It's a hard workout is a hard workout, but once you're done, you feel better. Usually, well, sometimes you feel like shit, but you mentioned before that especially this time, you're paying extra careful attention to making sure you're getting the right stuff in your body, making sure you're monitoring things, working out, staying healthy, and blah blah blah, because you want to be around for your kids. How's that? Having the wife and child now, how has that changed your perspective, I guess? And like, I mean, to me, it sounds like you've refocused your purpose just from continuing to exist, which is, in my opinion, kind of a lower level focus. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that's where we as human beings start. Like, just stay alive first and then move on from there. But now you've graduated to this new level of purpose. And I assume, because it's been that way in my life, that the intensity of your purpose has increased as it's changed.
Absolutely. So the first thing for me is, not now that I have a son and obviously wife, biggest thing for me is leading by example, and what I do, and what they see when they watch me. So for me, that is first and foremost, our healthy lifestyle, how we eat, how we do things, how I train. Cade, my son, his name's Cade. I will be bringing him to the gym so he knows proper technique, proper, like, why I do what I do. I want him to get that mentality, that mental toughness at like a young age, and to see his dad achieving these things. I don't want him to have, I want him to have a reason, and I want him to enjoy having something to enjoy growing up, that not be, eating fast food, sitting in front of TV, his whole childhood growing up. I want him to see what it is to build a strong mindset.
Sure.
And same with his mother, Ensley. She competes heavy in bodybuilding, so she's a bikini competitor. So she is very meal prepped orientated, and so she's always eating very clean, even cleaner than me, honestly, in most instances. So with Cade having, his parents, like the way we are, the way we eat, the way we focus on physical fitness, being physically and mentally strong. I think, once we show him that, it'll open doors for him as well. And I want him just uh, know that his parents wanted him to, grow up healthy and successful. So,
Yeah, I
for
would say.
me,
I mean, I don't have any kids myself, but this is common fucking sense. We grew up around people like this. Um, the kids whose parents let them do whatever they wanted to do all the time were miserable and depressed and anxious and nihilistic about everything. Like this, I don't know where this idea came from that just letting people do whatever they want as children and is somehow going to produce like a good person later on in life, or somebody that's even not, forget about good or bad, just well adjusted to life and capable. Like you wouldn't do that if you do that with a working dog, with like an Australian Shepherd. That dog is going to be a crazy piece of shit all the time. It's going to be in trouble all the time, getting into stuff. And look, kids and dogs are pretty far apart, but psychologically speaking, the way we learned about classical conditioning is from training dogs, right? That's how psychologists learned about that stuff. Like it was some of the methodology was pretty brutal, unfortunately, but we did learn quite a bit from it. And look, this isn't rocket surgery here. You give people clear guidelines on what's good and what's not, and you give them the tools to make good decisions in the future. You can't do that. Here's what you don't want to do is let the television do that work for you, because it worked okay maybe for a little while in the 70s with Sesame Street, but now it's just a delivery device for whatever these lunatics out here want to pump into your kids' brains. You know what I mean? Whether it be, it's not just all the social stuff, although that is very problematic, but it's like the advertisements for shitty cereal that's got a bunch of sugar in it, and sitting around playing video games all day, or becoming obsessed with with YouTube and watching people on YouTube do stuff instead of actually going out into the world and learning a skill. You know what I mean? Like this stuff is poison for a child's mind.
really is, man. Especially because all that shit became popular. A couple years ago, 10 years ago, try to finally coming to with YouTube and social media kind of getting big and whatnot. And so you see this change in our population. It's just, God, I don't want my son's in it growing up in it, and I hate it, man. But I mean, there's not nothing crazy that you do about it. It's just hopefully he just builds the good habits, and so that's the best thing I can do, and obviously his mom can do, and just show him good habits, build it, and hopefully turns out okay.
Yeah, but I think a lot of parents get kind of discouraged because all this shit's around. But to be honest, you should see it as a good thing, in my opinion, because there's a very weak field of competition out there for your child now. Like you don't have to do very much to make that kid better than all these other kids. You know what I mean? They're going to be successful in life because they're being trained to do certain things that other people aren't going to be trained to do. And it's not like you're putting them through boot camp or any bullshit like that. It's just like basic human being stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the biggest thing, is just put them in, a good environment, and just raise them to the best of my ability, and hope it works out. No, I'm very, I'm. Enzo and I talk about it all the time. How we want to be raised and whatnot. So, and how we hate that he's growing up in society. But yeah, you're completely right about just raising him proper, and he's gonna be better than 99% of the kids out there, which sucks to say. It really is terrible to say, because that's just the way our society is now. It's fast food. Fucking watch TV, cartoons, and don't go outside. Don't participate in any activities, make you tired. And then you got these diseases that are coming up. My son's this or that, this and that. Is he? Why? Is he because 100 pounds overweight? Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I know what you mean for sure.
Sure, yeah. So we talk about the foundation of this show. We kind of explore different principles that I think are important to secure what we all kind of enjoy, which is like safe civilization and personal liberty. I think is what most people kind of want. And one of them is that I'll put more into the country than I take out of it. It's kind of like the old Boy Scout phrase, leave things better than what you found it. Um,
Okay.
and I wonder from your perspective, what comes to your mind when you think about putting more into your environment than you take out of it?
Well, I think it comes down to how you want the world to run in the next 10, 15 years. What are you going to do to help it? Like, let's say, for instance, for me, the biggest thing for me that can help our world is talk about the struggle that I've been through and the resilience that I've had to bounce back from to continue doing what I love to do and having family to have, and to give others the hope in this world. And you know hope, pray that it clicks with other people, and then they want to turn around and do the same thing. They want to battle back their demons, and they want to continue doing good in this world for our world, because the path that our world is moving towards, it's pretty scary, honestly. And I have no idea what the future looks like. I just don't, because of how fast technology is coming, and just everything. It's it's really crazy, and mind boggling, honestly. So for me, I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing, and try to help as many people as I can to hopefully help the world, you know, in the future.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the easiest thing that people can do is to be a net positive for society, right? And then, once you become a leader, whether it's a parent or you're in charge of somebody at a workplace, or even just, I hate to reduce it to this, but like a clique leader in your friend group or something, somebody that other people look to for guidance, advice, or whatever.
Absolutely.
Whether you wanted that position or not. With a parent, hopefully you wanted it, but the other things, whether you wanted that
Yeah,
position or not, it's like once it's there, it's time to step the fuck up, man. We don't have time for this bullshit. Um,
exactly. Yep.
I'm I think that it's I think it's really interesting to unpack that, though, why that works, because it's kind of the underlying ideology behind the show. So a citizen is somebody who has the rights and responsibilities of a member of a state or country, right? So we spend a lot of time discussing our rights and bitching about them and how they're being violated. And to me, I always ask the question. It's like your kid comes up to you and says, "Hey, I can't find my shoes." Like, all right, did you look for them? Because if I go find them, we're gonna have a problem. You know what I mean? But it's when people tell me, when I see people bitching about their rights, I'm like, all right, fair enough. What have you done exactly to secure those rights? Because that's your responsibility as an American citizen to do that, right? I mean, that's kind of how this whole thing works. And if you don't do it, then it doesn't happen, or you certainly can't bitch about it when it goes away.
I feel like people are just sitting back, not doing anything. Honestly, literally, there's I hear everyone, yeah, like you said, bitching, and nobody is doing anything about it. They say it and that's it. All right, but no one's stepping up. That's kind of how I see it.
Um, and that's kind of like the next one of the other principles is no matter where I am, I'll be a leader, and leaders eat last, right? So it's kind of two things at once. So the first one is, regardless of what you want to do, the realization that leadership is required from you in some capacity. Otherwise, you're a net negative for society. I think that's an important realization for people to have. And some people see it as daunting, like, oh, I don't want the pressure of being a leader. It's like it's not that. It's not the pressure. It's an honor to be able to do these things. Um, Sure, there's stress, there's pressure. I mean, I can't imagine it's easy being a parent. Particularly, I'm sure you're going to discover this at some point, but particularly when your kid's a fucking teenager, that's going to be a nightmare. But you know,
Yeah.
it's still your job to make sure they turn out to be the best person that you can create, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
but I do think we also get the wrong idea about what leadership is too. Um, Leadership isn't just like giving orders to people,
No.
and you know this from the military. What are you? You're in security forces in the Air Force.
I was security forces. I actually just medically retired out. June 21st of this year.
Okay, so you were an
Um,
NCO. You were an NCO in the Air Force. You know what I'm talking about. It's like we have this, and bad leaders in the military do this. They give orders, they punish the disobedient. Sometimes they reward the obedient, but that's not really what it is, right? I mean, it's your job as a leader is to create new leaders. It's to force multiply, right? So that you create someone who can take work off of your plate so you can do more work. And then you teach them to do the same thing, right? You're building a pyramid.
yeah,
It's the way it's supposed to work.
yeah, lead by example. I had a lot of airmen under me, and so that was the biggest thing for me. If I couldn't say it, I hope you were watching. And just watching me do my job. So hopefully I'd have to tell you how to do your job. You were watching, you kind of learned it. And then obviously, like, what are you doing off duty? Like, what are you doing to make yourself better when you're not at work? And it was actually very humbling to see individuals start training, because I was training, going starting say for CrossFit, and they were like, "Hey, what gym do you go to?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do this, do this, do this."
Mm-hmm.
And then now following me, they're going to that CrossFit gym, or they're going to a CrossFit gym, and or they're asking me like what movements I do, like advice in the gym. I got that a lot. So that was pretty cool for me. You don't really think of yourself as a leader per se, but you do you do things that a leader would do, just because that's what you're taught. It's like ingrained in your brain. I'm just, all right, follow me if you want, because for me, when I was a young airman, I was looking for that mentor. I was looking for that individual who knew their shit. They were high speed as fuck, and like they were cool. I watched how they acted, how they talked to others, what they did in their off time. And if they were a shitty person, I don't want any of that. I don't want to be around any of that. Probably wouldn't want to talk to you much unless it was about the job. And I just floated to the individual who to me was a leader, and I wanted as a mentor. Not I didn't necessarily tell him that I want, hey, you're my mentor, but who I looked up to and wanted to be like. And so I just tried to do that in my career in the Air Force. And I had a lot of airmen, once I was, NCO, look up to me and ask for advice, and just love to be around me. And so it was really cool. I didn't have to yell much. I didn't yell much. Like, you're doing your job, sweet. Unless they really really fuck up, and then you kind of have to, yell at them a little bit, or to tell them what can't fucking do that, dude.
Yeah.
But no, man, leadership is a pretty cool thing, and I loved the impact that I made when I was military. So.
Yeah, so it's not just about I like to unpack these things just because I like to understand how things work, I guess, from a structural standpoint. It's easy to say, you should do the right thing. And then, you should always ask why, obviously. Why do the right thing? Well, because it's the right thing. That's not really an answer, is it? That's like, do what I say because I said so. If you're...
Most NCOs.
Yeah, you can't, that's not like, you're not building new leaders. Like if you give somebody a piece of the plan, but they don't understand the entire scope of the operation, then they will do only what you've told them to do, but they won't be able to flex and do and adjust to scenarios and make good decisions, absent central leadership. So it's not just about this idea of right and wrong, some like ephemeral scale of ethics and justice, but it's about making sure that the people around you know that you're an honorable person. You know what I mean? Knowing that you're going to do the right. It's sometimes less about even doing the right thing and the confidence that other people have in you to know that you're going to do it. You know what I mean? Because that's the foundation that the trust between people really resides in. And in combat, it's particularly important because I've got to know that when we go through the door, you're checking the wall that I ignored on my way in. You know what I mean? Because if not, I'm getting shot in the back of the head, and I would prefer to not have that happen. So that's a lot of trust to place in people. And I think, folks with my experience and your experience, you see these people get out of the military and feel like their service is over. And I suppose in some way the formal service is over, but the real service has just begun. Like I consider getting out of the military almost like graduating with a fucking PhD in how to perform in chaos, right? Because most people will never know how to do it. Because you just don't experience chaos in a controlled environment and then in a less controlled environment as a way of life. Most people will never experience that. And, to me, it's very important that we reframe the discussions we have about military veterans and what it is they need exactly when they get out. Because I don't think it's coddling. I don't think it's like, oh, you did a great job, buddy. Congratulations. You can go take a nap now. Like, fuck that. That's not, how is that going to work for anybody?
I think one of the biggest things is this, like when you get out, you lose that structure that you've had your entire career. You lose kind of your path, like your job, like what you're doing, and you're the brothers and sisters who you're doing it with. You don't necessarily have them around anymore. So I think that mentally definitely fucks people. I know for me, it was definitely weird and different, not throwing on the uniform every day, and having a sense of purpose. It's just, it takes time to then get into the new world of now you're a civilian, and now you got to kind of figure out what your next path is, your next journey. So I like when you go on deployments, you get this, you connect with your brothers and sisters like to a level that nobody really understands. The 99% of people out there don't understand what you go through, but like it's life or death for you, when you get deployed out there. Like you said, you're gonna watch that, you're gonna check that wall, if I miss it. So you build this connection, and then once you're out of the military, okay, that's it. In a sense, gone. And it's hard for people to get through that. I mean, obviously most do eventually, but then obviously sometimes it always sticks with them. The transition is hard. That's why we are, I know the VA is working extremely hard to figure it out and to get, to keep these veterans, to keep, veterans, keep them, get them back in the community, get them back with, brothers and sisters, and, getting them comfortable again, because it's really weird getting out. And even myself, going through the medical that I went through, even getting out was hard on me as well, because when you're in the military, you have a certain time, you got to get to work, and you're on a military installation always, right? You always have leaderships. You got your chief, you got your fight chief, whatever, you got commander and whatnot, and your chain of command. And when you get out, it's different. People don't quite understand that. So a lot of veterans go through a lot of depression, and it's not their fault at all. It's just is what it is. It's hard. So the VA is working extremely hard to kind of figure it out and try to to help them as much as they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the VA kind of sucks at it, to be honest, but
they are. Trust me, I'm in the VA system now, and so they are trying. They are working a lot harder than what it was.
Sure, yeah, definitely. Since 2013 or 14 or so, So it's like one of the things I'd like to tell people is like we don't need to train military veterans to become normal again, because one, that's not going to happen. Like you can't experience this and be trained on this stuff and then and then deploy and execute like that.
So different. So people won't understand, but sorry, I mean to interrupt you.
It's fine. We don't. It's not even a matter of normal. There's just no going back, right? You can't unring that bell. But even if you could, it wouldn't benefit anybody to do it. We don't need to coddle them or treat them like they're broken or any of that stupid bullshit. It's like
exactly.
We need to train these people to use their leadership skills to benefit society. I don't just mean in the business community. There's a million nonprofits out there that train dudes and women who've just gotten out of the military and how to leverage their leadership skills into the business community. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about carrying that chest out leadership style into your regular life, into your family, into your daily stuff, and tailoring it for a new audience that, by the way, desperately needs that leadership. The problem in America isn't one political party or another. It's not one foreign country or another. It's no leadership, no accountability, and there can't be accountability without leadership. You know what I mean? So that's that. If you want to make your country better, this is how we do it. We have this entire crop of millions of people, right, who have a very specific experience that is perfect to solve some of the issues that we have right now. And instead of, honing that experience and skill into a tool to use to fix these things, we treat these people like they're fucking broken, sad sacks. Just, oh man, I feel so bad for you. Like, don't feel bad for me, dude. I can fucking kick this door right off the goddamn hinges right now. I don't need you to feel bad for me. You know what I mean?
Nope.
It's just exactly. Like that shift in mindset about how we deal with these problems. And I think it's something that, people that go through extreme struggle find in their own lives. Like, at some point it clicks and you're like, oh, this sucks, but I can turn this into something. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it works.
It is 100%. Yeah. I don't want anybody feeling bad for me. My story, I'm like, I'm here, I'm here for a reason. I'm here where I'm at. I worked hard. Like, don't feel bad for me. I love my story. It has blessed me beyond belief. I met, my wife, I had a son. Life's good, man. And I would not take it back. I would take leukemia every time. So, as strange as that sounds, but
I mean, it is what it is, right? Like, you have no idea what life would be like if things had gone differently, Yep. Well, this has been a good chat today. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate your time.
Sure.
It's a very,
right.
Yeah, for sure. I always like talking to people who have gone through extreme shit. You know what I mean? Because the perspective is always different. It's like anything else in life. It's going to make or break you, right? And the decision of whether it makes or breaks you is ultimately yours. I think that's something that people need to understand. I mean, there's a lot of platitudes out there about this shit, about how, fucking, it'll make you tougher and blah, blah, blah. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, people are pretty resilient already if they just shut the fuck up and deal with stuff. I mean, look, our ancestors, who were quite a bit dumber than us, by the way, and I mean that, like, literally, the average IQ has risen quite a bit over the last, 200 years.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit dumber than us. We're able to do stuff that we can't imagine doing just because they fucking did it. So, maybe take that into consideration if you're out there and you're wondering if you're feeling unfulfilled in life. It's because you're not putting enough in, or you're putting it somewhere it shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like, you're giving your time and attention to shit that isn't benefiting you and benefiting other people. And I think the best way to course correct is to stop focusing on yourself and your problems, and, maybe identify a larger problem or someone else's problem and try to solve that, because that's typically how we find our way out of these dark places. Again, I appreciate you coming on today. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience before we get out of here?
Man, just if you're having a rough day, you're feeling, down, like what you're saying, you have these problems going on, because we all do, right? You just gotta wake up. You gotta just take it one day at a time. Look yourself in the mirror and just fucking keep moving forward, because that's the biggest thing, man, you can do. I know when I went through what I was going through, it was fucking hard. It was, get out of bed was hard, and I was saying to myself, like, hey man, like, you ain't gonna go anywhere. You just lay here, get out of this bed and just fucking go put in an hour or two at the gym, get your mind right, and then start your day. You don't have to be a crazy fitness enthusiast. Just go and get your blood moving, get your mind right, build that mindset stronger, and go and fucking win the day, man. And just continue doing that. One step at a time each day. Just keep moving forward. That's kind of what I have.
Cool. Yeah. What you got? Anything coming down the pipe that people should be looking out for? Books, appearances, videos, anything?
Yeah, let's see here. Um, I actually was just on um, the panel for Jennifer Griffin
Mm-hmm.
when her show for, on Fox News. It'll
Mm-hmm.
be airing the 19th of this month. Yeah, 19th of this month. And I kind of go over my story, and it's not just my story, but we have 5 others who talk about their story, what they've been through, and what they did to get themselves physically and mentally ready for like Invictus Games or the
Mm-hmm.
Warrior Games, and not only that, but then we have another panel that talks about mental health and what these individuals gone through to overcome that. So yeah, that'll be aired on Fox News with Jennifer Griffin November 19th. So
And
if y'all want to check.
I think that's called the Wounded Warrior Experience or something like that. Is
Sorry.
that it?
Yep. Yep. Wounded Warrior Experience. We
Mm.
talk about what we've gone through and what we've overcame mentally and physically.
Mm.
Yeah, I think y'all will enjoy it for sure.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time today. It's a very interesting conversation. What'd you say?
I said I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much for the invite. Man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Anytime. And let everybody know where they can find you on the internet and shit.
So you just type in Matt Cable on the internet. Matt Cable Titan Games. You for Instagram you can type in Matt Cable _, and I like to lift. I like to lift heavy sometimes. And CrossFit's kind of my jam, and I like to compete. So I mean, if y'all want to hop my page and check out some competitions, or if you ever have any questions, I'm always open for messages. You guys can message me, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And that's about it.
Sweet. Well, yeah, I encourage y'all to do that. Very inspirational dude. I appreciate your time today and all the information and just perspective.
Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, man. And appreciate all of you for listening. This has been Citizen.